Well, welcome back. In this video, I finished the paintwork on this build. I'll talk to that Mez Blue a bit later, but I bought another gun for this job, and this is a Developers GTI Pro, which is a great little gun. So this is all the gear that I need. I'm going to do a custom stripe on this tank and the front guard and the seat as well. Start by mixing up some silver, and it's like a metallic base, and I don't mix that much because I just want to apply first coat and just check that it adheres properly. I don't have any issues. So I'll mix that up, and this process does take a while because I'm not just going to use one color, and I'm trying to do something that's a little bit unique and different. So I just give it everything a blow down. Here are all the panels, just using a tack rag, and that's the front mudguard, the seat, and it's all primed. There's no metal showing anywhere, and you know, I've done the best I can to get these ready for some good paintwork. So just tacking that off. The weather's turned out really good, and I just start, as I said, by doing a base coat in silver. So again, make sure you're safe. Put a first coat on, and this is the metallic silver, so on all of the guards, and I mainly want this to be where I'm going to put my custom stripe, so just down the center. And I put this first coat on, and I'm not sure why, but on this tank, after the first coat, there's a little bit that just seems to react a little bit to the primer. So what I do is I let this dry off for about half an hour and then give it a sand with 1200, and you can see just in this bottom corner the bit I'm talking about, and it might have covered over, but I just, you know, I haven't done this much work to mess it up at this point, so I'll give that a sand all over, and then once I do that, I'll give it its last coat. I'll give it 2.5 coats, really, a light coat and then 2 other coats. So this is it going on the silver for the last time, and it applies well, and it dries beautifully. So I don't know why I had that mark on there. Who knows? Maybe it was from the wax and grease remover. Maybe I put my fingerprints on there. Not sure. But second time around, this dried and went on really nicely. So I'll leave this for about 45 minutes to an hour to dry, and then I start to apply the pinstriping for my custom stripe. So you can see that, look at the fuel tank there, it's come up really good. This is just fine line, and I'm just putting it on here. It's a bit tricky with all these contours, but take my time, I'll get this down. And I made like a little marker just so I could measure the gap in between these 2 lines I'm going to have, just to make sure it's consistent and it's right in the middle. So you can see it here, I'm just marking it out, taking my time, and putting the second stripe down. And once I measured it up, you know, it was within about 0.5 mil. You really weren't going to see it at all, and I'm really happy with that. Then I'll do the same with the front guard. Now, the front guard was a bit of messing about as well because of the contours and to try to get the dimensions exactly right. So I just had a center line marked out from each end, and once I had the 2 fine lines on each side, then it was good to go. Now, this color is a color I mixed myself years ago for my Celica. I called it Mez Blue or Mesmo Blue. You will not find this anywhere, so it's a great blue. So yeah, I'm not planning on sharing the code for this because of the effort I put into getting it right in the first place. So to match my Celica and the intent of my builds, I'm going to use this color. So I've done my base of silver. Now I'm going over the whole tank with Mesmo Blue. I just start off with first a light coat and then a second heavier coat. It's got a bit of metallic in it, so you know, I'm careful not to put it on too heavy because I want those metallic particles to stand up properly and be even. So I take my time, goes on really nicely. I end up putting about 2 coats of this, 2.5 coats on everything, and it turned out really well. So there's the first first coat going on the front guard and covering over those pinstripes. So obviously I'll peel off once it's dry. Doing the seat, and I'm really happy with this so far. It's a great colour. It sort of looks almost black now. When I picked this colour, when I did the sleeker all that time ago, what I wanted was a colour blue that in the sun had a nice blue to it, and at night I wanted it to look black. So I figured in the end, I hummed and hawed for that long that I would use this colour on this XJ build. So there's a seat after it's been finished painted and it's still got a bit of a gloss on it. And this is the last coat I'm doing on the fuel tank. And yeah, as I said, that's the DeVelbus gun. I've set it out full fan, and I think it's about 2.5 turns on the flow, and you can see here it just applies really nicely, and that gloss sort of gives you a bit of an idea what it's going to look like in the end. But when base coat, this is a base coat, when base coat dries, it's always dries in a matte, so this was just a bit of a teaser on how it was going to look when I actually finish this job. So there's the last coat going on. Starting to look quite different now. I'm quite happy so far with the way this is going on. So this is after about an hour, and it's all dried, and you can see it's in that matte finish. Now what I want to do is my race stripe here, I want to do something a bit different. So I'm putting an effect like I don't know what you call this, probably a snake skin effect. And I carefully cut this bit of mesh that I have, stick it down like you can see here, and I've got to be super careful when I paint this because too thick and it will fuse that mesh into the existing paint, and too light it's not going to give me a good pattern. So for this color I mix a bit of the silver with a bit of the Mesmo blue to create a bit of a blend. So the pinstripe will be silver, the mesh colouring will be a darker silver with a hint of Mesmo blue in there. So I mix a bit of that up, and I'm super careful here. I just give it like practically 2 equal passes, same pressure, same distance, just to get a nice even coat over all of those. So I'll do that over front guard, seat, and the tank, and also do it over the bracket of the front guard, which you'll see a bit later. So you can see it here. At this point, I just let it dry. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to move that mesh. And I haven't done this before, so I have taken a bit of a chance. And you know, what's the worst thing that can happen is I'll just do it again. So this is after about half an hour. Peel it off, and I must say I was pleasantly surprised in how well this covered and how uniform it was. So I couldn't be happier with the way that's turned out. So there's the Mes Blue on the outside. Here's the pinstripes coming off, which is a bit lighter silver than what I used in the middle of the stripe, and just peeling this away. And you know, this is the point where you do all this effort and you just don't want any of that paint to lift off. You don't want any issues anywhere, because fixing something like this obviously means starting again, because you can't really touch up a pattern like that. So just taking the other pinstripe off, I do the same on all the panels, and this is really looking awesome. Probably that stripe, must say, has come out as good, if not better, than what I was hoping for. And I think the pattern is a bit different, but my builds are generally a little bit unique. So there you go. Do the same, remove everything on the seat, and thankfully no issues with that either. Take the pinstripes off, and on the front bit I didn't do the pattern under the seat pad, but I just wanted those stripes there, and there it is coming off of the fuel tank. Now this has been about half an hour since I painted that, and the next step is applying clear. So here they are ready for clear coat, and I'm using a high solids clear. All I do, tack rag it one last time, put clear on it, and then it is pretty much job done. So here we go, tap rag right before I clear. Get a nice coat of clear on there. I'll put 2 coats on. I will have to polish these a bit later, but you can see once the clear's on, the Mesmo blue has all of that colour coming out of it. So here's the tank. I start off with like a reasonable coat and then put a wet coat on, and just transforms it with that clear. Awesome. So take my time here. I certainly don't want to make a mistake at this point. Clear coat over the race stripe, and you know, I didn't have any issues. As I said, I just got to polish this a bit. Once it's fully cured, I'll probably do that in a few days' time, and then it's literally time to put the sender unit in it, put it on the bike, and finally go for the first test ride. So super happy with this. They're all the panels done. You can see here them finished. This is straight off the gun, and it's so close now. So in the next video, I will assemble all of this onto the bike, finish installing the fuel tank, and then I will be ready for the first test ride. And you can just see on this seat the look of this Mesmo blue. I really like that colour, and it's come up super. Couldn't be happier. Stay tuned.